Coco and Mama Coco Life and Style. Emphasis on life living. And today we are about to speak on life there in Tobago. Yes, we may touch a little piece on Trinidad, but Trinidad and Tobago, we are going to be speaking mainly on Tobago and Tobago affairs and how things are going right now in Tobago and what life we should really expect, seeing that we went to the polls and we have a change of decisions, yet we are tied at 6-6. I am hating upon 6-6. But this evening, my name is Cora Panty, and we are here and we are blessed to have with us Dr. Assemblywoman, Faith B.Yisrael. Some people may know her as Faith Brebner. But this evening, as we give God thanks, we're asking God to have mercy on us. We're asking God to be the chaperone of our show, this Mama Coco Life and Style, that a lot of people not too happy that we are moving forward and we are progressing. So this is a time when I have to take a little pull back just to understand clearly, what do people want from me? What? Do you would like to know that I have this wealth of information in me and I keep it all to myself? Everything I say will not be kosher with everybody. You understand what I'm saying? Because some people believe that honesty should be kept under your feet. To be transparent, you want to walk around with your face tight. So this evening, I just want to share with people that this life that I keep belongs to me. My daughter is the producer, and she's the one who was excited when she heard from me that God is giving me a promotion to move from normal Facebook and to have this special show. She organized everything. She put everything into place and into play. So I am here, all due respect to my daughter. I have a daughter and I have a son. They are public figures. My daughter is a doctor, a double doctor. She's also a surgeon. She's a fertility specialist, and she's also a virologist. And my daughter is an entrepreneur, a businesswoman. And my son is out there too in the public. So everything I do and say, I say it in regards and with regards to their prosperity in the vocation in which they are called. I do it too for myself, because when my time should finish here on earth, I want my integrity. I want the life I live must follow me, because I'm trying my best to do good now, and good doesn't lead you. Goodness follow you for all the days of your life while you dwell with God. Whether you're in a house of God, but your house of God to me is your body, in your mind, your soul, your spirit, your thoughts, your behavior. Yes, the things that excite you most, the things that you sacrifice for the cross. And I try to do that every day. Yes. So let's take time off now and welcome, as I said before, Dr. Assemblywoman, not councilor woman again, Assemblywoman Faith B.Yisrael. Or Faith Brebner. Unmute yourself. You're muted.
Yes. Thank you. Thank you so much. Thank you so much. It's an honor being here. And yes, I am relishing in the assemblyman title. I am. So thank you for having me on.
Yes, you are so welcome. We are waiting for you. Yes, I kind of misspoke there because it could mean a lot of things, woman of assemblyman, but you're assemblyman.
Yes. I mean, it's one of the things all of us they're using the term assemblyman, even though I am female. So that is the official title. And until we fix it, we go with
until you guys fix it.
Until we fix it, yes.
Because in the early days of my life, I will share this. Every show I have, I like to teach something. In the early days of my lifetime, they used to call women police officers policewoman
Ah,
or woman police.
yes, yes, yes.
No, policewoman. So everybody know, I was with a policeman. I didn't understand the terminology.
Right,
But
right,
now they
right.
fix it and they have WPC.
Yes, yes.
So everybody
So
will
true.
know WPC have to be a woman
A
police.
female. Yes,
Yes.
yes, yes.
Right? So and is WPC what? Constable, CPL is what? Corporal. So we still have to teach we need civics.
We certainly do. We certainly, there's so much that we don't understand, but yes, this is an opportunity for us to learn, for us to continue growing, and for us to continue evolving. Certainly.
So we give God some praise and ask him for his anointing this hour. We ask him to continue to guide, guard, and protect us, to keep us in perfect peace and harmony, and let us be able that whatever we say from our mouth is accepted in his sight, and whatever we are saying is for the motivation of others, to help people to understand life more, to understand politics, to understand the way we should vote and why we should vote. And this we ask in his magnificent name. Amen.
Amen, amen, amen.
So, Dr. Faith, the last 3 months have been what? Especially busy for you. Tell us all about it.
Well, I think busy is an understatement, and I wouldn't even say 3 months because we came out of the general election in August. And we contested the general election in August. The PDP did, and we were working as hard in August as we were working for January. So it's been trying. It's been eye-opening. Quite frankly, I enjoyed every bit of it. I was actually telling my parents, who were a little bit concerned about whether I could take the rigors of this. And I was telling them, actually, I am enjoying this. I'm enjoying this very, very well. So even though it was a lot of hard work, I was able to learn even more about the electoral district that I now represent. I learn even more about Tobago and the needs of Tobagonians and so forth. And that has been a wonderful journey for me. So I would not change any of it for the world. I would not switch it around. I wouldn't say I would have, I wished I had done anything differently. No, 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 no. It was a wonderful journey. I enjoyed every second of even the sleepless nights. I enjoyed it. I even lost maybe a pound or two because we were walking up of all of these hills. I noticed probably for the first time in a long time that everybody in certain villages either live going up a hill or down a valley.
Down a valley. That's
Yes.
right.
Either up a hill or down a valley, and that allowed me to even appreciate the wants and the needs of the island even more. So
Hey.
it's been busy, but I absolutely loved it. I absolutely loved it.
So you are telling us now that you learn more of your
Yes.
environment now.
Yes, I did. This whole thing about politics, particularly the way we campaigned, we insisted on campaigning on the ground. So you had to walk. You had to physically get out of the car and walk. And it's amazing the things you see when you're walking a community versus when you're driving by. So that made it that gave me a different view, a different
Perspective on things.
perspective of things. And in many instances, there were homes in places that I did not even know existed.
Existed.
Yes, there were people living in circumstances that even I was surprised by. And you would think that we're in 2021, this should not be the situation. But the reality is that is the situation
Jesus.
here. That was eye-opening. That was like, wow, we should not be in this position now, but it is what it is. And I guess this is why I am here doing this job. And it allowed us to really, it allowed me to think, to chat with our community, and particularly the community of young men. Because we frequently hear about, the quote unquote delinquent boys on the block and that kind
Yes,
of thing.
yes.
And what I recognized was that in many instances, that is very far from the truth. Because these young guys have ambition, these young guys have dreams, these young guys are working hard, but it's really the society that is not allowing them to develop in the way that they want to develop. So that also gave me a very different perspective on how we think about, certain classes of people in our community, and allowed me to start redefining or restructuring in my head how we fix some of the ills, some of the problems that are out there. Mm-hmm.
Even when you go to some of these homes, we're not going to stay long to really make it a stuff, but this is very important. Like
Mm-hmm.
you go to some homes and you see some of the young men are great gardeners.
Yes, and I have actually been, and it's funny because we insisted on going to every house. I insisted on going to every single house. Um, we found homes that had large gardens, young men that had animals and stuff like that. And I would look at them and like, but boy, so why when I pass you on the road, you look like you ain't doing nothing. This is
Hey,
all you. And they were like, yes, Miss Faith, but I just need a little help with this, that, and the other. And we were like, okay, cool. This is what we would work on because we have this image of a failed community that I think we are allowed to replicate in our minds. And because it is replicating in our minds, that is what we push out there. But we have a lot of people who are not failing, who are doing the hard work, but they just need a system to help us to help them and to help us as society to be better than where they are.
so would you project this industrious way of these young people? Even some women, you go by them and you see that they are great bakers. They will offer you food and you ask yourself, you cook this? You understand me?
Exactly.
You know. So I'm so glad that when you told me that Sunday would not be a good day for you because Sunday you start to go back
Hmm.
into the community.
Yes. So what I've been doing, I have decided that the same way I went to every house to ask for their vote, I am going back to every house to thank them, whether they supported me or not. So I have dedicated my Sundays to doing that. And when I say go back, I mean go back walking to every single house, go back thanking them, go back chatting with them. In some instances, when I went the first or second time, they were not home, but I am meeting them now because of the day that I'm going and that kind of thing. So even though it may take me quite a while, it may take me a very long time to do it, I'm insisting on using that method because it's also a way of learning my electoral district, learning the people who I now represent by chatting with them in their homes. So yeah, I'm going to do it the hard way. I'm going to do it.
That's game changing for you. That is what you guys run on and vote on and vote for. That's why the Spirit of Truth reveal that you guys need to be represented. That is real representation with
Certainly.
presentation. And I'm so happy and blessed to have you who are doing this. Like tell me now, you're not a social worker, but you went into communities and you see women with so many children and how they live, and the kids don't have it, and they're sleeping on the ground, and the this and the that, and the stuff. Do you have any plans to take up such things?
Well, yes, yes. I've already begun. To be honest, I've been doing that for the last couple of years anyway. Because even though my background is in public health, behavioral and community health sciences, I worked within the division. It was then health and social services. So I am pretty familiar with the social service sector in Tobago. Luckily, I've actually made quite a bit of friends in the sector. So whenever I see people with needs, I already know who to call, who to message, who to say this is what needs to happen to allow the person to go through the system and to get the support they need. So I'm really just continuing on that vein.
Hallelujah. This is an awesome time in your life, and trust me, I appreciate everything about it.
Thank you. Thank you.
I appreciate everything about it, and I know the audience will be getting their evenings worse.
Thank
Yes.
you.
So, Dr. Faith, can you give us some some insights yeah, into the lessons that you have. I'm getting problem with this green and
With the
black. You
green.
have
Okay, so
gained,
let me read.
yes.
Can you give us some insight into the lessons that you've gained from the recently concluded 2021 THA elections? Some lessons. There are
First
many.
thing,
Uh-huh.
first of them lessons. You always remember, you see that Studley Park walk you did
Mm.
with Carl Cupid?
With Carl Hector, yes.
Carl Hector, I mean, I saying Cupid, Carl Hector. That was so inspiring. And it was so powerful because a lot of people we living around and we don't know the insights of our infrastructure, of
True.
of how long things are in the making and how much we disappoint our people. So you go ahead and start to talk, but just remember Studley Park.
Well, yes, and that is a perfect example of us not even knowing the treasures that we have on this island. And I think that maybe have been one of the biggest lessons for me was that yes, I love Tobago. Yes, I'm from Tobago. Yes, my neighbor Stringberry here. Yes, all of that. But I gained a greater appreciation for what this island has and the treasures that this island has. And it allowed me to think through, okay, how can we better use the resources that we have? Because we have tons of resources that are underutilized, underdeveloped, and we are certainly not gaining the maximum potential from those resources. So that's one of the biggest things that I learned. Again, another one of the lessons was that our human resource is amazing, and again, we need to tap into that. We need to nurture it, but we need to tap into it. Um, Another thing that I learned is that Tobagonians are, and I'm trying to figure out the best way of saying this. We are, even though we are timid in some respects, and even though we are laid back in some respects, we are also very resilient. And I think the results of the election show that a lot of people thought that the PDP did not have a chance, but the Tobago population showed them, we open and rah rah. We may not be, burning tires in the streets as they do in Trinidad or anything like that. We may not be that kind of people, but when we've made up something, we stick to it and we do it, which I really appreciate. And I learned that during the election. And I'm learning it even more now because there are people who are reaching me and telling me, given the impasse and all of that that's happening, they are even more resolved to ensure that we fix Tobago and they are now committing themselves to being a
Yes.
part of that process even more now than they were before.
So
So that was one of the many insights that I learned. I also learned that you cannot take people for granted.
I was waiting for that. Let's go.
You can't take people for granted at all, at all, at all. And one of the things I did, I actually made it my mission to not assume that anyone was voting for me. So when I
Yes, you
went
can't.
to
You
no,
in a sense you can't behave entitled.
exactly. I tried not to. So I would go to homes that, I think are traditionally PDP homes, or you see them in our meetings or whatever. And I would still ask, I am asking you for your vote. I am asking you to give
Amen.
me the opportunity to represent you. And I think that may have been one of the reasons why the results were the way they were. And,
Amen.
that I have to continually remind myself that I cannot take people for granted. It doesn't matter who, I cannot take people for granted.
Speak about the day when you were walking up Mount St. George Hill and you encountered some children.
Well, okay, so that was actually a step. I don't know
That
if
was,
maybe
I know the step. I
yes,
walk Mount St. George. I know the
they
steps.
call that step 100 steps, but it's actually
Yes.
more. It's about 151 steps, and
Tell us about that.
it
That
leads.
moved me. That moved me.
Right. So it leads you to what is known as Toe Hill at the top of Mount St.
Mount
George,
St.
at the
George.
top of Chapel Hill, where the Methodist church is.
Churches.
And I decided, well, again, I have to learn the electoral district. So I started walking up that hill. And because I tend to use times where I am alone to do
Yeah.
these Facebook lives and so forth. I just started doing the Facebook live, and the kids were on the step, and we started talking and we started interacting, because I didn't know that I didn't know the family, I didn't know the area a whole lot before then. So they started, talking, they started jumping into the Facebook live, they started interacting, and coincidentally the first home that I actually went to, that's where they were living. So I then had to go and tell the parents, oh my God, please forgive me if you see your children on Facebook, this is why.
Yes.
But what was encouraging was that they were interested in politics, they were interested in who I
My
was.
goodness.
Yeah, they were interested in learning about, who is PDP, because they were reading what is on the jersey and that kind of thing. And again, we go back to the idea of thinking that children are not absorbing information, but they are. They are absorbing all of the information, because even while I was walking, I went one path because I thought that was the front way to get to the house. They went the other path. And they had already started telling their mom about me coming up. So she was not surprised at all to see me come knocking the other side. So it was a very interesting interaction. And I have interactions like that all the time as I'm walking through, because children are home now and that kind of thing. So that was just very encouraging. I'm hoping that I've already started advocating for some of the changes that are needed in that area, and I'm hoping that within a couple of weeks we could start start seeing the things that they need done to ensure that that area is a little safer and so forth.
Because Mount St. George on the Hill really needs some help.
Yes, and Mount St. George on the Hill, they were telling me that that part, because a lot of people don't recognize that Goodwood-Belle Garden West electoral district includes a little piece of Mount St. George.
Yes.
And many of the residents there were telling me, well, they have never seen the area rep before.
Oh.
They didn't even know, they didn't even know who the area rep was. And because that is not part of the Bacalet Mount St. George seat, they are
Yes.
continually forgotten, they are continually neglected. So they were very, very surprised to see me up on that hill. And again, it's one of the reasons I decided I had to go back and I had to go and show my face, because they supported. They really, really came out and they supported me in their numbers. It's because of, the entire district did, but the numbers that I got in that district was almost double what I got the last time.
Ooh.
Yeah. So that
Tell
was an
us what you
amazing thing.
plan to do with some of them unfinished house up Mount St. George Hill
Oh
and
gosh.
unpainted house. And tell us about Hillsborough Dam.
Right.
One of our main source of water. You haven't been there. You should have been. You should
No,
go.
and that's the thing. That is one of the areas that I do need to go to that Hillsborough Dam area, because again, it's trying to understand the entire district and trying to get a sense of what we need to do for the entire district. So they've been saying for the longest while that they want to distill the Hillsborough Dam and all of that, and it is something that we would have to work with Wasser and so forth. But it's a bigger issue, and I
Bigger
need to
issue.
learn more the issue before I can make any pronouncement about what we will do and what we can't do. Particularly since we have this impasse and the PDP is not quite in the executive yet. So a lot of the stuff that I am doing now is really the advocating and the representing, and not necessarily the executing just yet. So it's taking a little bit of time. It's a little bit frustrating, but it is what it is. It's part of the process.
So now as we in that area, I am trying to say something that demands supposed to go out, because that dam is in a very lonely spot.
Right.
Water facility. We have to be careful what we are doing and how we are moving. And this little, if they want to behavior about Hillsborough Dam, they're putting everybody's life in jeopardy who use that water up there. And
Yeah.
Hillsborough Dam should be taken care of
Yeah.
better. Now we have Studley Park Dump, which is close to where your mom,
Yes.
so where you guys, you live there also?
No, I live in Belle Garden.
Or you
My
live home
mom,
in Belle
yes, I
Garden?
live at home in Belle Garden. My mom and stepdad, they live in Studley Park, and there's a church. This church that they
The
own is
church is
also
there too, praise
in
God.
Studley Park. Yes. So when you look over from their home, that is what you see, the landfill, and this is a landfill that has been it filled and overflowing, for want of a better
Hey,
term.
talk
For as
about it.
long
Say
as
some.
for,
Talk
yes,
about
for
it.
as long as I've been back in Tobago since 2007, and when I came back and started working with the division, we knew it was had lived back, and we need to find another solution. So it's one of the things that I am hoping to accomplish when I officially become the secretary with responsibility for health.
Give me 1 minute. I think I have to take off my necklace.
Necklace,
Yeah, my bead. Something is happening down there.
it's knocking on the thing
Yeah, something with the mic.
on the mic, right, right,
And
right.
maybe this necklace are trying to be cute. But my cuteness is causing disturbances.
Oh gosh.
So let me see first if it's just the bead. I know sometimes bead have other stuff in it. Some bead have metal and they
Right,
just cover it with color plastic.
right, right.
I
So
think
yes,
it's sounding better.
yes, it is. It is. Mm-hmm.
Well, let me move it completely. Hang on, sometimes you have to just think
Well,
out of the
listen, it's
box.
your show. Eh? Do what you need to do.
So go ahead, Dr. Faith.
Right. So I was saying that for that landfill, to fix that landfill issue, we need to have really a comprehensive waste management plan for the island. So that comprehensive waste management plan would include officially closing that landfill. It would include having a proper recycling system on the island. Now, to the credit of those who are there now, they've started doing some recycling on the island. The method of doing it is not necessarily the best. And some of the things that should have happened first that happen with like the education and the incentives and that kind of thing that we need for the people to get for the people to get accustomed to recycling. But it has begun, but it needs to be ramped up some more. And part of it would include actually closing that landfill because it has to
Yes.
be closed. It has to be closed. My thought is to close it and to have something like a mini golf course in its place, because when you are closing landfills, it's going to just be land that is unusable to do any real construction anytime soon. So we would have to find another way of treating with it, of using the space, and getting a mini golf course in that area would actually be a pretty decent thing to use that space for in the interim while the refuse actually settles and everything that needs to happen, because it needs to take at least 10-15 years after you close a landfill for it to come, you even start
And
thinking about doing
fossil,
any construction. Yeah,
fossil, you can get
exactly, so you can't do construction or
So
anything
Sister
like that on
Faith,
it.
can you check your beads
So
with
it's
your
probably
mic
my beads that's affecting
as
the
well?
too.
Could
So
be.
let me put it here. Is this better?
Yes, because sometimes your mic is touching
It's touching the beads.
the
Okay.
bead.
Okay. So let's hope that is better. I've moved it aside a little bit.
Yes.
Good. Great,
Sounds
great, great.
better.
Well, I guess that is what happens when we're trying to play cute, right?
Yeah, you have to be cute on TV because you know everything you do. If you're too cute,
Yes, yes, yes.
they still will talk. So we got to do the best for our show tonight,
Exactly.
and we can start to take things off in order to curb people's enthusiasm.
Yes, yes, yes. Certainly, certainly, certainly.
So, Dr. Faith, we have another question here for you. Dr. Faith, what is your impression, yeah, of
Mhm.
the
Path moving
of
forward for the people of Tobago following the THA election results and the ongoing COVID-19 global pandemic?
so that's a nice, strong question.
Mhm.
But you're going to emphasize now for the people of the East because we have real different needs. You
Mhm.
know what I mean? Yes, on the West have almost the same, but trust me. Thank you so much.
True, true, true. Well, they, I think COVID-19 has shown us that the way we've been doing things is not the only way to do things. I am seeing COVID-19 as an opportunity. I am seeing COVID-19 as a time for us to reset and recharge and rejuvenate and to rethink how we've been functioning. Even something like this, before COVID-19, the whole idea of having full TV shows on Facebook, I'm sitting in my living room, you're probably sitting in yours. We did not even consider that that was an option before, but now we have to rethink everything. And I am using this as an opportunity, and I hope that Tobago is also using it as an opportunity to recharge and to re-strategize how we function. Um, as it relates to Tobago specifically, we have to realize that I think, again, COVID-19 has shown us that the world is very small in the good way and the bad way. The fact that we have a pandemic shows that the world is tiny, 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 because this little virus went from one place all the way around the world in almost no time. So it is showing us that it is very, very small, and that we are part of this global world that needs, and we now need to evolve to ensure that we are not left behind. Because unfortunately, the entire island has been left behind. Whether we want to admit it or not, the entire island has been left behind. So the island of Tobago now has to think, what are we doing? What are we offering? What are we getting? What are we giving? Are we able to feed ourselves? I mean, I think COVID again showed us that we used to be the breadbasket of the Caribbean, and now we are importing foods from all over the
Everywhere.
place, which is just ridiculous given that we have some of the most fertile lands in the world. We should not be importing foods from anywhere, particularly foods that are indigenous to Tobago. We should not be importing any ground provision, any banana or anything like that from anywhere. And so it is now allowing us to rethink and allowing us to realign ourselves, because I think for a while we were lost.
Yes.
For a while we were just floating along and not really centering ourselves, and not really thinking of what we can do to impact the world in a way that causes us to stand out. And we now have an opportunity to do that. As it relates to the THA results, I think that Tobago is telling us something. Tobago is telling us that one, I sorry to say, this is not PNM country. This is not PNM Island, even though we thought so for 20 years. The
And
election,
it's not PNM money.
and it's not PNM money either, exactly. And I would really hope that those on the other side recognize that it's not their money, it's all of our money, it's state resources, and that we are not afraid to stand up for ourselves. We are not afraid, and the election showed us that we are not afraid to stand up for ourselves. And I want Tobagonians to continue knowing that we are not afraid. And particularly, I want to identify specifically 2 or 3 days before the election, a piece of propaganda came out where they were talking about a poll that said that it was going to be a 12-0 or 11-1 in favor of the other side. And I came out and I said to people, you all don't listen to that. That is just propaganda. That is them trying to suppress your vote. It's a voter suppression technique.
Yes.
And I'm glad that people listened and they did not stay home, because the aim of that was for you to say, well, we already lose. There's no point in going out to vote. But we're proving that, hey, you could do it. It doesn't matter what any poll says. It doesn't matter what, any of those people try to purport as reality. We are the ones who can change our reality. And that is the opportunity that we have now. We are the ones that can change our reality, and we need to do that. We need to keep pushing in that direction.
So in moving forward, what you want to tell the people?
Well, I mean, the other thing too is that the thing that Tobago has been pushing for the longest while is this Tobago autonomy issue. And we now have an opportunity to really stand together for that. That is why Mr. Duke said, even on the night of election, when we got the 6-6 results, that it's an opportunity to have two equal entities, PDP and PNM, to go and chat with the parliament in Trinidad to say, hey, we are equals. And the island of Tobago has been clamoring for certain things for the longest while. And this is an opportunity for us to get those things. Now, which is why it was very, very disappointing to hear the Prime Minister come out and say, well, what he's going to do is to try to make 2 or 3 amendments to the THA Act to try to fix this. When in fact, that is not necessary. And it is not taking the step that is the best step for the island right now. Particularly, it is also frustrating when you hear the Minister for Tobago West then come out and proudly say that this Joint Select Committee that was created to look at the Tobago Autonomy Bill is asking for another 3 months to deliberate, to get a report and so forth. When in fact, we've been at this for years and years and years and years and years. So Tobago really, really needs to stand up and to take this opportunity to say to them, no, 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 hold on, y'all wait. This is something that we've been clamoring for. We now have an opportunity, having 6-6, to really, really sit and talk about what we want and to draft something that we know will pass and that
That's
would give
right.
Tobago the kind of autonomy that we have been clamoring for. And this is an opportunity to do that.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. So what we're trying to say here now is that the Prime Minister and his people, they're trying to change the rules in the middle of the game.
They
You
are
can
trying to.
you can't change the game already on. It's 6-6. Let's deal with this now and to get the work that the people give us 6-6 for
Exactly.
started.
Let's do it. Exactly. Let us do. Don't try to change the game, change the rule. You're right. Changing the rules in the middle of the game. Let's not do that.
You can't change the rules in the middle of the game because people wouldn't get it.
Exactly.
The referee gonna call you out. You're gonna be committing flagrant foul.
Yep.
Flagrant
And the
foul.
other thing that they don't recognize too is that when you rules are usually legislation is usually for in the future. So it is difficult to use a legislation now to fix something that has already happened in the past.
That's right.
So we still have to treat with the issue at hand
At hand.
to treat with the 6-6 impasse, and there are mechanisms to do it. We just need to use the mechanisms that
We
are
have to
available.
use it. You can't tell me that the leader of PDP standing up, he opening up chapter and verse, and this woman that they call the clerk of the house, she refusing to even listen to him. She refusing to open her book to see if he's lying or not. So she's showing that she knows the book more than who reading it from the book. You understand me? And I want your take. A better way to see if a question there for you. Because I want you to give your take on her conduct, her
Right.
behavior, her demeanor, and everything. I want you to say it as a woman sitting there, knowing that
Um.
she's a public servant.
Mhm. Well, it is
There is a
it
question here, I think.
actually that is a different. What is the difference between autonomy that you speak about and the secession that some erroneously confuse it for? Okay, so I can answer that since we're talking about autonomy.
Yes.
Um, we secession means breaking away from
Trinidad.
Trinidad, meaning forming your own country. And the PDP has never spoken about that. And most of the people on the island of Tobago have not spoken about that. What we want, though, is autonomy, and what we want is a level of independence. And let me be very, very clear about that. Trinidad currently experiences a level of independence from Tobago, and let me explain why.
Mm-hmm.
If Trinidad, the government in Trinidad, needs to go borrow money on the open market, they can do that without coming to Tobago to ask Tobago's permission to
To
do
do
that.
so.
So Trinidad experiences a level of independence from Tobago currently. If the Tobago House of Assembly, Tobago needs to go borrow money on the open market, we need to go to the Minister of Finance and ask his permission to do it.
Mm.
Exactly. So that is just one example. If we need to bring any goods into Trinidad and Tobago, so if you have a shipment of goods that needs to come on a cargo vessel, Trinidad can dock shipments in Trinidad without asking for Tobago's permission to dock shipments of cargo in Trinidad.
Or
So,
Tobago knowing that shipments been docked in Trinidad.
right,
Tobago don't even know what there's be going on.
exactly. For any international shipment to be docked in Tobago, it is not allowed.
Really?
No, cargo shipment cannot be docked in Tobago before going to Trinidad.
So why we have customs and excise?
Customs and excise brings people. So like when you come on a plane and you come directly to Tobago, you go through customs. Other than that, we do not have a CARICOM or an international docking port, cargo port in Tobago, because it does not, the rules of the country does not allow for that. So if you recognize, even Tobagonians who are business people, their shipment goes to Trinidad, whether it's the port of Spain, Point Lisas, or wherever, and then they have to go to Trinidad and bring it to Tobago. That is what currently happens. So Trinidad is independent of Tobago. From
Tobago.
Tobago, Trinidad can do what it needs to do on its own without asking for Tobago's permission to do anything. But Tobago does not experience that same level of independence. We still have
Independence.
to go to Trinidad and ask for permission to do all of these things. And that is the when we talk about autonomy for Tobago, that is the difference we are talking about. We want to have a situation where two islands are equal, brothers and sisters. Not one is a big brother and the other is a little sister, have to ask for permission. So that is what we are talking about. When we talk about Tobago's independence, we need to be able to do these things for ourselves. When we talk about Tobago's autonomy, we need to be able to do these things on our own, to chart our own course, to make our own economic choices for ourselves. We need to be able to do that. And that is what we've been pushing for. That is what the people of Tobago have been pushing for the longest while. So that is what we are talking about when we say autonomy for Tobago. And let me also stick in very quickly that there is a narrative that's been pushed that Tobago does not contribute anything to the economy of Trinidad and Tobago.
You know what? Give me 1 minute. I had a
So I would continue. There is a narrative that says that Tobago does not contribute anything to the economy of Trinidad and Tobago. But when you look at the international waters surrounding Tobago, and when you look at the oil and gas reserves in the international waters surrounding Tobago, you are showing that Tobago is actually contributing quite a bit to our thing. When you look at security of the island, legislation on the island. So, for example, if Tobago wants to have a police service, a Tobago police service, or whatever you want to call it, Tobago currently does not have the authority to just have a Tobago police service. We have to use the TTPS and continue with the processes of the TTPS and the policies of the TTPS, who takes their instructions in essence from their bosses in Trinidad. If you look at our legislative issues, if the Tobago House of Assembly needs to create a law on behalf of the people of Tobago for something on the island of Tobago, we cannot just create that law. After we create a Tobago law or a Tobago bill, we have to then send it to the parliament, to the cabinet in Trinidad, which then decides whether it goes to the parliament or not. When it gets to the parliament, they then have to debate on it and approve it and all of that before sending it to the president for her signature. While there are municipalities in Trinidad right now, Port of Spain Corporation, Arima, Borough Council, all of these entities, they can make laws for their area. And when they make the law, they just send it to the president for the president to sign. While we do not have the authority to do that right now. So these are all of the things when we talk about autonomy for Tobago. These are the things we are talking about, ensuring that we put the Tobago House of Assembly on equal footing with Trinidad.
So we are going to have autonomy over our policing and our treasury.
That is what we are pushing for. Yes, so that we can have autonomy over these things. We can make the decisions for ourselves, because we know that Tobagonians are quite capable of making decisions. Tobagonians are no less smart than anybody else in the world. As a matter of fact, in many of the large institutions in Trinidad, it is Tobagonians running them. So I know that we have the technical capacity on the island to do a lot of the work that is necessary to get these things done. So I have no fear about our ability or our capacity to do it. These are the kinds of things we are talking about pushing. Mhm. But we could
Somebody,
go back to the question, is there actually a question about the clerk? I could go back to that point. Because we were surprised. Um, and that is the most polite term I could use. We were really surprised by the functioning or the actions of the clerk, because the clerk really is there to help us maneuver the process thus
yes,
far. And the clerk, in reality, is simply ignoring what the standing orders say, because the standing orders are clear. What we are saying, and Assemblyman Farley said it at the very, very
very
first
first.
sitting, the very, very first sitting, that the Tobago House of Assembly standing orders goes through the process of what we need to do to elect a presiding officer. It does not provide provisions for if there is a tie, though. So let's be clear, that is not included in the standing orders of the Tobago House of Assembly.
Assembly.
But Section 92 of the Standing Orders of the Tobago House of Assembly says very clearly that if there are situations, instances, activities that are not treated within the Tobago House of Assembly standing orders, then we should go to the standing orders of the House of Representatives. And the House standing orders of the House of Representatives clearly says that if there is a tie when it comes to the voting for a speaker, because in the House of Representatives, the presiding officer is equivalent to the speaker,
Speaker.
that we cast lots, in essence. You flip a coin, you draw straws, you put the names in a hat and you pull it. And this is actually something that is done even in Trinidad, where there were borough councils where they needed to pick a speaker. And that is what they did, because there was a tie. So it's not like this is anything new. It's not like this is anything special. It's not like this is anything that is out of the ordinary. This is what is done in Trinidad and Tobago. This is what is done in other areas. So we are really, really surprised that the clerk simply does not follow the rules as outlined in the standing orders.
So in the instance, let's get a little personal here. In the
Hmm.
instance where they take off the air condition and take off this and lock up the kitchen and walk out,
Well,
how you could analyze that?
I don't know. I am.
That was petty.
I would say it was, but in their defense, they did come back on and put on back the air conditioner as soon as we said something publicly about it. So they
Oh, they
did come
did.
back and do that. And even the night where we had the sleep in, the staff was very, very accommodating. Like the rest of the staff, they were understanding, they were accommodating. We had no beef whatsoever with any of the other people working in the legislative secretariat or anything like that. We are just really, really concerned that the clerk is not following the rules, and the clerk is not answering questions, because we've asked questions while at the meetings, just for her to give us an explanation as to why she's doing something or the other. And she simply refuses to answer questions. In some instances, she refuses to even look in our direction.
Direction, I saw that.
Yeah, so we are just, it's one of those things that I don't understand why. I don't understand what is the situation, but we are just hoping that the public servants understand their role, and that they fulfill their functions. Because the other thing most people don't know is that in many instances, when there is misconduct and misappropriation and so forth, the politician isn't the one who gets in trouble. The politician isn't the one who gets, makes a jail, for want of a better term. The politician, it is the public servant who has to
Yes,
face the brunt of all of these things. So,
yes.
so she really, really needs to be conscious of the fact that she needs to be very, very careful with what she's doing, and to ensure that she does not go beyond what the rule says, and
And
does
she
not put
walked,
herself
and she
in
walks for
jeopardy.
Tobagonians.
Exactly,
So
exactly.
are you still gonna speak like in defense of her?
Um,
No, or is it, or they just changed their way of of doing things because they were placed on blast? It's a difference.
What for whatever was their reasoning, they fixed the situation, and that is all that was important for us. That part of it anyway. So that was fixed, and we were able to be comfortable. They did not call the police. They did not do anything like that. So that was fine. That was fine.
So do
And
you think,
we
in your
just need her
judgment,
to do her job.
do you think she should be investigated for her conduct?
I think definitely, certainly, because the standing orders are clear. The standing orders are clear. And one of the things at the last meeting that we did, I can't remember who was the person who said it, whether it was Assemblyman Farley or Assemblyman Duke, who asked her to get independent counsel to ensure that what she was doing was correct. And we kind of hope that she would at least stop the meeting and go look at it, go read it again and see, okay, then come back and say, yes, I agree, or no, I don't agree. So it is very, very likely that she would have to face disciplinary actions because of her conduct. And I hope she's aware of that. That is a possibility, because it's very clear that she's just not following the rules.
I don't really know her. I'm not excited to really know her either. But at the same time, it's alleged that she's somebody's ex-wife, and some politician ex-wife. And I don't know what. No, well, this is Mama Coco saying this with all due respect to everybody who will want to know why am I saying this. But she really didn't show any love for PDP.
Yeah, she certainly did not show that she was impartial. I'll
Thank
put
you.
it that way. Yeah.
Thank you. We have another question for you. We're moving on.
Yes,
You see,
yes, yes.
you see what happened for all these years is the regurgitating that kept us with this one party. And God show us now that this is, I say, unity. And God showing that we have strength in numbers. Yes?
Exactly.
And God
Exactly.
showing that unity is strength. So unless the other party get ready to fight against Jehovah's will, let's wait and see. Because
Exactly.
his will must be done on earth as it's been done where everybody want to go, heaven.
Exactly. Completely agree.
So we have
Completely
another
agree.
question for you. Then we're gonna answer a lot of people writing up stuff there, and
Okay. Okay.
they are excited about you, and they are your audience too. A lot of people.
Yes, yes, yes. I'm seeing the comments. I'm seeing them and seeing them. So let me read the question there. Dr. Faith, violence against women have been amplified during the COVID-19 pandemic, and Trinidad and Tobago is no exception. What is your take on how we can stem this tide? So yeah, the premise of the question is correct, that violence against women has been, well, I don't know if it's been on the increase or we've just been hearing more about it. I'm not convinced that it's been on the increase. I am convinced that we've always had violence against women happening. COVID-19 has just almost put it in a pressure cooker, because you now have a situation where all of the things that perpetuate violence were happening all at once. We had people losing their jobs. We had people being forced to be in confined spaces when you usually could go out and relax and that kind of thing. You had situations where parents who themselves may not be able to academically understand issues are now forced to be teachers of their children.
Children
So we have all of these things coming together that normally we could, diffuse it a little bit, but it
finding
comes
food,
together.
finding food where
Yeah,
the schools used to be giving food.
exactly. And you're now having to find a digital device, now having three
where many
children.
where, where many adults can't use.
Exactly. It's, you have one phone and you have three children that now need to be in three different classes with the one phone, and all of that happening. So all of that kind of came on people, and we now have the result of that, which is just an intensifying of the domestic violence that happened before. And of course, we now have social media and so forth. So even though it was happening before, we may not have known about it, but now we are now more aware of it. So I think to treat with that, what we need to do is look at the things that are causing the pressures. I believe that one of our biggest issues is how we culture our young boys and our young girls. Because as young children, we very quickly say that, we train up the girls one way and train up the boys another way.
We
And
ain't train the boys at all.
at all, exactly. And we say things like, a 2-year-old or 3-year-old toddler falls and cries, we are very quick to say we are crying for if it's a little girl, when in fact all the child wants to do is cry because the child is hurt. And then when that same child becomes 18, 19, 30, 35 and does not know how to express hurt, because we are the ones who told them
Told them, don't cry.
don't cry, then how else are they going to express hurt? How else are they going to say that this is how I feel, and this is how I this is how I'm feeling? I'm feeling bad. I want to cry. I want to express myself. And I am not saying that I'm, by no means am I blaming the men for this, because both genders do it. I've seen women also say to men, say they don't want to be with a man who cries, because that is a man that is, a soft man and
Cry,
all,
cry, baby.
cry baby. And it's like, what do you mean? So if you're not crying, how else you expect him to express his feeling? So I think starting with how we culture children, starting with how we raise children is what we need to do. We need to have safe spaces for both men and women to go when they become adults to speak, to
We
really
have,
express
we,
themselves.
we may even have boys and girls, the girl even older than the boy.
Mm-hmm.
The boy can go out on the street and sit down and lie all night and come home. And if your daughter come home one day from school late, you're ready to. So there's a whole lot of stuff that we need to do. And I'm so glad that we can have this kind of conversation,
Mm-hmm.
because I am saying the other parties doesn't have this kind of conversation. They
So
don't.